Watch fam? What is up, Watch fam? I am Christian from Theo and Harris, and this is episode 100 of ASKTNH. That is pretty cool, guys. I guess we'll do a quick wristwatch check before we get into the episode, which I guess we've been waiting for a while. It's kind of a weird moment. It is cold as shit outside. Wow, we have to figure out a better way to record these. Okay, so today on my wrist is nothing. I am not wearing a watch because today, as TNH, we're going to be talking about my watches. So they're all right here, and I wasn't going to pick a favorite to wear, but that's it. I mean, there are, of course, quick plug, new, awesome. Well, they're new, but they're very old. Watches available in the watch shop at theoandharris.com. So check that out. But today we're really talking personal stuff. We're talking about stuff that is good, but sometimes you've owned better. But this is the stuff that stuck around. So for its own reason, and we'll get into them. These are the things that I still have and probably would never part with. So I'm really excited to do this, guys. Let's get into it. Okay, so for my first watch, I'm going to go with probably my first watch. This is an old Swatch that I got in 2004. My parents gave it to me just because I think that at the time, well, at every time, right? Wearing a watch when you're a kid is a kind of a sign of maturity, right? And I remember getting this and feeling like the coolest kid in the world because I didn't have a digital clock. I had a digital watch, and I was like, yeah, I can read the time, and I'm cool. I look like my dad, And that was a really cool moment. And actually, these watches have proven to be oddly collectible. These Athens 04 watches, probably by a wild Greek watch fam cult that collects these watches. Of all of them, I actually like this one the best. Of all of the Greek watches that came out that year, and I've looked into them after in retrospect. 10, 12 years later, I started looking into them. And with its steel bracelet, white dial, I don't know, the sword-ish hands, I just think the whole thing is cool. I think that the engraving on the bezel, the whole, Olympia 776, I just think it's a cool watch. So not only does this watch hold a very serious place in my heart because it is basically my first watch, and it kind of did introduce me to the feeling of wearing a watch and being like my dad, right? And that was kind of like when you're a kid, that's the emulating thing, I want to be a big boy. I want to wear a suit and go to work and wear a watch like my dad. So I think that this was a very cool watch for that reason. So this watch will never leave my collection. It actually does not have a battery in it now, but the truth is I wear it not often, but often enough, even without a battery. I could totally go and get one and put it in here. We have a watchmaker for the shop, for God's sakes, but I don't know. I just haven't done it. To me, this is not about the time. It's not about owning a cool piece of whatever. It's just about reminding me when I look down at it exactly what it is. So that's it. That's my first watch. Actually, the date window execution here was actually very good. Good for you, Swatch. Look at that. The black there. They did a good job. Gotta say. So that's my first watch. I think that the next watch that happened in my life was my Rolex. So I guess I'm going to show you guys my 1601. So this watch is funny. When I bought this watch, I liked watches. I actually knew a bit about watches, but only like relatively recently. So I was, what was I, 18? I mean, may have been like, I think I was actually 17 when I bought this watch. I think I was about to turn 18 in like a week or something like that. So I did know quite a bit about vintage Rolex and about watches, but only because I'd been studying for a couple of months at that point. It wasn't a long thing. I'd been interested in watches as far back as this Swatch, but I hadn't really taken them seriously and ignored school until a little bit before this watch. So I think in high school, like I said, kind of like my senior year, I just began, I got the bug. I started reading Hodinkee. That's kind of what did it. I started reading Hodinkee. I started watching Talking Watches. And then I branched off into my own things. I would read about the people that were in Talking Watches. John Goldberger, you know what I mean? Like that guy totally blew my mind. And then I started interacting on Instagram about watches. I posted one watch. My first wrist shot ever was of this watch. And it was just cool, to finally say kind of like out loud, which is, it sounds like, it sounds like it's a big deal. It's not that big of a deal, just like watches. But I think at the time, it was a big deal to say like, hey guys, this is what I'm interested in. And you kind of want your attention for a second, as opposed to posting just a cool trendy photo of a cup of coffee. So this was probably my first Instagram photo, one of my first Instagram photos with meaning. And certainly the first one my first expression on social media that I was a watch guy, which was weird, you know. So why did I choose this watch? Because I think it's downright beautiful. I had no idea at the time how rare blue dial, you know, Datejusts are relatively, you know, relative to Datejusts, how desirable they would become and stuff like that. I mean, in retrospect, I didn't know that much going into this watch. You know, I put it this way: I didn't know what I would like about it at a certain point. But I grew into it, I think. I know, because I absolutely love this watch now. I mean, put on my wrist. I think that wearing this watch, I wore it last night out, and I wear it pretty often, even though I'm always wearing really watches from the shop. I do wear it pretty often, and actually it feels hefty now, which is so weird at 36 millimeters. Basically, this watch, even though it was expensive, and even though it was overpriced at the price that I bought it at, but it made me look down at my wrist more often, you know, and which is something that this watch did when I was a little kid, but it stopped. You know, I wasn't really interested in watches a year after this, or 2 years after this. This watch, my Rolex, this kept me looking down, and I would look down in class, and I would look down on the weekends, and I would look down here and there, and I was just so amazed by how beautiful it was, and how interesting it was that my body, my motion powered it. And that was just a really, this watch literally made me fall in love with watches. My dad's GMT, which I'm not going to show today because it's not mine, you know, that interested me. And my grandfather's Seamaster interested me. I love those watches. But this is the first watch that I really loved, you know, that was mine and I had a connection to. Until today, I wouldn't sell any of these watches, I really wouldn't, but if this is the last one. If I had to keep one, this would be it, because this is mine, you know, more so than anything else. I remember so much, so specifically while wearing this watch, that it just means a ton to me. You know, and I love the strap I put on with it, this John Russo Crocodile strap. I think it's totally beautiful. I got the strap a year after I bought the watch. And the strap was a lot of money, it was like $300, but in retrospect, another great decision, because Jean Russo makes the best damn straps in the biz. So, and I've made some really good friends there. But that's it. I'd say that if a watch started Theo and Harris, it's this one, you know, which is a cool thing to say. Then my next watch, what did I buy next? I mean, I had a Jaeger LeCoultre that I ended up letting go of, actually just last week. And I love that watch. I really, really thought that watch was absolutely amazing, and still think it's amazing. And I'm jealous of the guy who owns it now. I don't know, let's get into that in a second. I don't want to get very chronological order. I'm going to keep going chronological order. I'm going to get back to the story in a minute. But until then, let's actually go to my graduation watch. The watch that my parents bought me for my graduation from college this past May. It's a jump hour watch. It looks, you know, shockingly like a Cartier, you know, one of the old Cartier jump hours. I think that this is the perfect, just like showstopper watch. This watch stops people when I wear it more probably than any other watch that I own or even wear regularly, because it is so unusual. People probably like my Datejust more, but I get stopped more and people question me more when I wear this, because it just is so odd and so unlike anything most people have seen. Another watch I would totally never sell, partly because it was my graduation gift, how could I ever sell it, but also partly because there's just something so cool about people like looking at your wrist and saying like, I have never ever seen something like that, as opposed to when you're Rolex and people are like, oh, that's beautiful, but they know what it is. This is something they just literally don't know, and this is, if nothing else, a very clear, it just jumped from 6 to 7 while I was looking at it. That is so cool. That was so unplanned. And if anything, it's just a clear statement. It's like a declaration of geekdom when I wear this watch. It's not deniable that I'm a total watch geek when I do wear. Oh, I put the kind of another red leather. Another one, Jean Russo. I mean, Jean Russo made both these straps. I think that this strap has too much bulk to it. I think that the recommendation that they made as far as the bulkiness of the strap was wrong, but still, they did an amazing job. It's a beautiful strap. Once again, Jean Russo. I mean, it's not bull. People think that Jean Russo pays us. Jean Russo has never given us $1. They've never given us a discount on a strap. We pay retail just like everybody else, but they're that good. My next watch is another very special watch to me. This is a vintage Omega Seamaster. So I'll talk about it right after Anna focuses. We got it? Cool. So this watch, where do I start? My grandpa was a New York City cab driver, and his uncle gave him this exact reference or model Seamaster. Since he was a cab driver, and it was in the 70s and the 60s and 70s, if you wore jewelry, if you wore a ring, if you wore a watch, you know, people would come on the side and, you know, put a gun to your head and say, give me your watch, you know, so he never wore it. My grandfather is by no means a flashy guy. I mean, he's probably like the most like, you know, not flashy person that I'm related to. So he doesn't like watches and he doesn't like jewelry. But when there was a wedding or there was a communion or there was a special Christmas, he always wore his Omega Seamaster. And it was in amazing condition. And that's another watch right next to my dad's GMT that really started my love for watches. But because, you know, it's my grandfather's watch and I have an uncle, that's his watch. So that watch will inevitably go to my uncle, and that's it. So that I won't get that watch. My mother and my father knew how much that watch meant to me. So actually, I found this watch. This was actually a Theo and Harris find that we offered for sale in the shop. And I really wanted to keep it. Maybe because I just felt guilty like buying another watch. I don't know, I really should have just never even offered it for sale because I risked letting go of it. But it was even more special because on my 21st birthday, this past September, my parents surprised me with this watch. We were in Philadelphia and we went to go, you know, have drinks and dinner and everything like that with some really close family. And I opened up my gift and it was this. And my whole team, Anna and my mother and our webmaster conspired behind my back. A couple weeks earlier, they said that it was, you know, it was sold. I had an invoice and everything. It was gone, you know. But the truth was, my mom bought it. So they gave it to me, and it was a really special moment because of the significance not only watches have in my life, but this particular Seamaster reference or model, I don't know the reference number, has in my life. So, not to mention, it's just a fucking great watch. You know, I practice what you preach. Omega Seamasters are absolutely incredible. I mean, they're literally incredible. This has an original crystal. The beveled lugs to me are just so incredible. Anna, you should post a photo, like some, you know. And I love the patina. I love patina watches too. And I think I put it on a really cool, you know, green suede strap. So this watch to me is extremely important. But let's do my most recent acquisition. So out of all of these watches, I've only purchased one. I purchased my Rolex Datejust. But this next watch, that's my most recent acquisition, I've been looking for a while. And to go back to the Jaeger story and some collecting advice for you guys, I think that sometimes just the coolest watches that you know are infinitely cooler than you are, you know, and infinitely cooler than the rest of your collection sometimes, and maybe they're even super rare in their condition or whatever the hell it is. That doesn't mean they're for you always. And I love that Jaeger. I really, as a watch geek, it drives me crazy that I sold that watch. But I think knowing myself, I knew that this next watch fit me, my style, and my collection a lot better. And for that reason, I purchased a vintage Cartier Santos-Dumont. I think that this watch is absolutely gorgeous. I will put it on for a quick, my heart's already fluttering wearing it. I love it so much. Check it out. With an original buckle, mind you. That's pretty cool as well. I have old man style in a lot of ways, and I think that I know that about myself, so it makes it easier to make, you know, shopping decisions. I love the way small, you know, dress watches look on my wrist for probably the same reasons. I don't know, I just love the charm of not trying to shove masculinity down people's throats sometimes. And it's nothing against you guys. Like, I love subs. I would wear a sub in a second. My dad's GMT is amazing. I'm so by no means like casting judgment on like Rolex or Breitling or people. It's not my thing. But for me, I have a real comforting experience wearing a dress watch, especially from a company like Cartier. When I've been looking at these watches, just admiring them for years, probably, you know, 3 years. I just love the design so much. I love the tank, but to me, in a lot of ways, the tank is very simple, and there just wasn't enough for me to pull the trigger on one, and they're expensive. So it was just too much money, and for me, not the perfect fit for me to, you know, spend it on. But this was always the watch to me that always just grabbed my attention, and I finally found one, and I pulled the trigger. I sold my Jaeger, and I bought this, and the size is isolating. I mean, it's like, what is this, like a 30 millimeter watch? I mean, which is totally ridiculous. There's a photo of Muhammad Ali wearing a Cartier tank, like a 29 millimeter Cartier tank. That's ridiculous. You know, it's hysterical because in today's day, you know, you have to be this like, you know, kind of like slender, old manish hipster to wear a small watch. ridiculous. I mean, the most masculine dude ever, wore a small Cartier tank. So I don't know. I feel like he needed no overcompensation in size for a watch. So, and that doesn't mean, once again, to be clear, I'm not trying to say that people with big watches are overcompensating by any means. But I just think it's cool. This is actually the statement. I think it's very cool when you can get to a point with your style and taste that you're not limited by, how you kind of feel about social obligations to wear something big or wear something small or to wear a certain color or a certain style. It's just like, I like it. Like, that's it. I don't care what it looks like under my wrist. If you don't like it, if you think I look like a chick, or you think and it doesn't, once again, not against chicks, but when I went out last week, and this guy was joking. He wasn't really being a douchebag, but he looked at my watch and he goes, "Oh wow, that's amazing. I was going to buy my girlfriend one of those." It's just funny. But for me, it really is perfect. So this is my most recent and probably last for a long time acquisition, and I absolutely love this watch. I mean, if you look at my collection. There obviously are common threads there. I don't buy sports watches. It's just not my thing. But I think that because I am able to recognize that and because I'm self-aware enough to know my own style, I've saved myself a lot of money. In a weird way. Even though I've spent a lot of money on my collection, I've saved myself a lot of money in a weird-ish way. Because I don't own a Speedy. I don't own, a Rolex sub. I don't own, whatever, an Car, super compressor. And I love those watches. They're amazing. I sell them because I genuinely believe in their value. But they're not for me, and I'm not going to pretend like they are. So even for yourself, if you see something that is your style and that you genuinely do enjoy, don't wait, especially when it's vintage. Don't wait, because it's going to be gone. I mean, it happens. I feel so bad sending so many emails out a week, people considering going back and forth on a watch, and they take 6 hours and it's sold. Meanwhile, they probably were sold 6 hours ago on the watch. They wanted to buy it, and they just stopped themselves for whatever reason, and then 6 hours later they send, "Oh, I'm ready, let's do it." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry, the watch sold an hour ago." And it sucks because with vintage, that's it. It's gone now. It's over. You can't get it again. It's not like, you're just selling belts that are mass produced. I'm sorry, that example of that Omega is gone now. Because I've been able to, be free with my collection, own what I want to own, and not necessarily really hold back. Because I don't waste my money on things that I don't necessarily enjoy, and I think that's, once again, I've said this before to you guys, it's super important. So that's it. I mean, this is my relatively small collection. By no means should this be considered a small collection. I think one watch is a big collection because we don't need them anyway, right? They're luxuries. So I'm gonna get for that in the comments, but it's just the truth. So that's it, guys. I mean, I know that you guys have been asking for me to, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't do the giveaway thing. I know you guys have been asking me to do an episode like this for a while now, and I haven't. I've been resisting. I didn't know when I was going to do it, but I finally have done it. Oh, another one just came in. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pick the captions and the winners of the Theo and Harris contest for $100 each. Number one was Hostile Gray. He wrote, I'm not going to read you guys the whole thing. It's ridiculous. It's just way too long to read to you guys. But I think that he really thought out really well, and it wasn't only about follow Theo and Harris. He just thought out really well what he appreciated about stories and about watches. And I think that his post, even though he only had 71 followers and 1 like on the photo, and it didn't really make us a return, this wasn't the point of the exercise of this competition. I think that it was well thought out. And I think it pinpointed a lot of my feelings on vintage watches and stories. So he wins one of the 3 awards. Number 2, we're going to go way back and go with I Am From the 8, which is Ian Ishida. Another one. He did a great job. I'm not gonna go into too detail much on any of these, but I just think that these 2 gentlemen, as well as the last one, which we are going to go with. Suspense is killing me. And for the last winner, we're going to go with Laguna Concepts. So I think these 3 people took the competition, and they took it, seriously, as one could take a small little, fun competition. But I think that their posts were just honest, and all of them were. Nobody posted a bullshit like, follow Theo and Harris because they're the coolest people in the world. That's bullshit. We both know that's not true. I'm sure there are other people that are cool. I just can't think of any right now. But what a douchebag. So that's it. I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed doing the whole competition. I got to know a lot of you guys while doing it. Some of you guys sent me messages, and vice versa. I answered, and we had conversations. So that was super cool. I just want to give you guys a big thank you, a big shout out. Thank you so much for even giving a about Theo and Harris, about ASKTNH, about RantTNH, about Liquor Run, about In the Metal, and about our new series that's going to be launching next week. And I know you guys will care about it because it's going to be awesome. But thank you. I mean, you know, I'm a young dude. I'm 21. And I just think it's amazing that, you know, we've made as a team, the Theo and Harris team, we made a collective decision to just go on something and just care about it, you know, and we're not entitled to anything. Like, you know, who gives a shit, right? But I think that we've produced good content, and I genuinely, I do believe in our product. But if you guys didn't care, it just wouldn't matter. You know, none of it would really matter. And that sounds like, you know, it sounds negative, but it's true. If we put all this work and put in all this time and all this money, to be frank, and nobody cared, I don't know where the hell we would be right now. I don't know where I would be, that's for sure. I'd probably be in law school. So that's a real scary thought. But that's it, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for following. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram. Check out theoandharris.com.